And I give the floor to Sri Lanka. Microphone, please. The speaker is not using a live mic.
When we consider the idea of human capital, equality and progress, it is almost normal to think to the future and focus on shaping a world that is friendly, accepting, and beneficial to the children and youth of today. But in this very pursuit of creating a better tomorrow, we must be cognizant to include those who forged our today, those who helped to create the very groundwork within which we operate, our aging population. Madam Chair, between 2019 and 2030, the number of persons aged 60 years and over is projected to grow by 38%, from 1 billion to 1.4 billion, globally outnumbering youth. This increase will be the greatest and the most rapid in the developing world. As such, it is imperative on us to heed greater attention to the specific challenges affecting older persons and recognize the essential contributions that older persons can continue to make to the well-being of societies and towards the achievement of the SDGs. Sri Lanka has, in 2017, put in place a national health policy for elderly. In Sri Lanka, the elderly population is increasing, and we recognize that we'll be faced with several related challenges. That is why the development policy articulated by our government titled Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor, a roadmap for the prosperity for our country, and built upon the foundation of happy families, includes a section for a society with respected senior citizens. Sri Lankan culture traditionally assigns high priority for the care of the elderly by the family, and this is legally sanctioned. However, the development policy augments these traditions and provides for priority welfare measures for the elderly in ensuring their ability to live with dignity. Madam Chair, many developing countries are confronted with a number of health issues outside of the COVID-19 pandemic, and older persons would be vulnerable, a vulnerable group that is most affected. In this context, we welcome the 2021-2030 has been declared as the decade of healthy aging. In Sri Lanka, we pride ourselves on every citizen's right to free and universal health care, regardless of gender, regardless of race, economic status. Our aging population enjoy equal rights to basic health care, thereby preserving one's right to health and the quality of life. Madam Chair, we must go beyond preserving rights to being one step ahead of the issues our elderly will face, both now and in the future. It is vital that we forward-thinking and create policy and legal frameworks that will be more effectively address the economic and social issues our aging population face. Old age, Madam Chair, challenges our self-identity. This vulnerable and transient sense of self needs to affirm itself to feel secure by holding on to whatever it can, getting enough of what it wants and avoiding enough of what it doesn't want. For a variety of reasons, this tends to become more difficult with aging, and there is commonly a growing sense of powerlessness and a loss of control over our lives. This exposes the root fear, the sense of wanting that lies at the heart of the human condition, but which in earlier years we are better placed to keep covered up. Ours is an upfront culture of individualism with attitude. Get a life. In a culture which places a high value on independence, standing up and standing out, physical and financial dependence can induce feelings of failure and inadequacy. In the area of gender and sexuality, to be a real man or a real woman is commonly important in sustaining a strong self-identity. Isn't this something that must be addressed if we are to recognize the humanity in our old? Finally, Madam Chair, Sri Lanka remains deeply concerned about the multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination that continues to create vulnerabilities for older persons and affect their right to a dignified life. We commit ourselves as responsible members of the international community to promote and protect the equal rights and the quality of life of our aging population. May I wind up by recalling what Gibran said, quote, "The things which the child loves remain in the domain of the heart until old age. The most beautiful thing in life is that our souls remain hovering over the places where we once enjoyed ourselves. I am one of those who remembers those places regardless of distance or time." And as someone else said to most of us who are advanced in our years, relish love in our old age. Aged love is like aged wine. It becomes more satisfying, more refreshing, more valuable, more appreciated, and more intoxicating. Think about it. There is only one time in our lives when we all have a chance to be old and hopefully wise. Getting old, Madam Chair, is a fascinating thing. The older you get, the older you want to get. Finally, let us not neglect the celebration of old age, which gets less prominence in our culture than either the bad news or the ever-youthful evasions of it. What we celebrate is the accumulated wisdom of just having lived so long, as opposed to the negativity of ageism. This is our contribution to a fast-moving culture which is becoming increasingly disorientated. It would be a pity to have had the good fortune to have lived to be so old and yet to remain trapped in whom we were, without being able to step out into the new life that awaits us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, His Excellency Mohan Pieris, Representative of Sri Lanka.